Some people move through the world with a love so quiet, it almost feels like a secret. A tenderness held behind the ribs. A softness they offer without asking anything in return. They are the ones who remember the details no one else notices. The way someone sighs when they're overwhelmed, the shift in their voice when they're tired, the small pauses between their words that reveal more than the words themselves. To love quietly is not emptiness. It is not fear. It is a form of devotion shaped by years of learning how to be gentle in a world that often isn't. And yet beneath that gentleness, there is a story, of restraint, of longing, and of a heart that feels deeply, but speaks softly. Chapter 1. The soft beginning. Quiet love does not arrive with fireworks. It enters slowly, like dusk, or a gentle temperature change you don't notice until your body relaxes into it. People who love quietly begin with observation, not intention. They watch the way someone's eyes soften when they talk about something they care about, or how their shoulders tense when they're trying to be stronger than they feel. Their affection grows in the spaces others overlook. Not in declarations, but in presence. A cup placed near you before you ask, a message sent at the exact moment you needed it, a silence held so you can breathe without interruption. For them, love is not a performance. It is a steady tuning of their attention toward another person's inner world. They listen for what isn't said. They sense the emotional drafts in a room, the subtle shifts that reveal whether someone is hurting or simply tired. Loving quietly means they rarely take the center. They orbit gently around the people they care about, not to stay hidden, but because it feels natural to tend rather than to ask. Their affection is soft, patient, and almost imperceptible until it accumulates, like grains of sand forming a shoreline. Others might misread their stillness. They may see hesitation where there is devotion, distance where there is deep attunement. But for the quiet lover, love lives in the details, in the small constants, the careful noticing, and the soft way they hold another person's heart without ever tightening their grip. Chapter 2. Where it all started. Quiet love rarely emerges from nothing. It is often seated in childhood, in spaces where words were scarce or emotions had to be measured. Some learned early that their feelings were too big, too loud, or too much for the adults around them. Silence became a refuge, a way to protect both themselves and those they loved. In these early environments, attentiveness was rewarded more than expression. A child who noticed a parent's exhaustion might quietly adjust their own needs. A gesture, a glance, a small act of care spoke louder than shouting, "I love you." Over time, this subtle choreography became second nature. Yet, quiet love is not always the product of scarcity. It can emerge in homes that were warm but unhurried, where children were taught to sense before speaking, to move carefully within the emotional rhythms of those around them. The lesson was not to suppress love, but to weave it gently into the world. These formative years left an imprint on the nervous system, an attunement to subtle shifts in mood, a readiness to prioritize others' comfort, and a habit of keeping the heart soft, yet contained. As adults, they carry these early patterns with them. They love with intention, yet quietly, because it feels familiar. Because it is safe. Because it is how they first learned that love mattered, not in grand gestures, but in the tender, unobtrusive moments that ripple quietly through life. The origin of quiet love is rarely dramatic, but it is profound. It whispers in every careful gaze, every soft touch, every moment they choose presence over proclamation. Chapter 3. The psychology of quiet love. To love quietly is not merely a choice. It is a pattern shaped by the mind and nervous system. Psychologists often point to heightened empathy as a key feature. These individuals sense emotional undercurrents, subtle expressions of fear, longing, or joy that others might miss. Their brains register the world in fine gradients, noticing what is not said as much as what is spoken aloud. Many quiet lovers display traits aligned with secure, anxious, or avoidant attachment styles, often a blend. Some fear burdening others with their feelings. Others internalize emotions to maintain harmony. The result is a careful calibration. They love fully, but softly, weighing each gesture for its impact. Neurologically, their responses are intertwined with the autonomic nervous system. They are attuned to microsignals of stress and comfort, responding with protective kindness rather than expressive exuberance. The amygdala, the brain's emotional sentinel, reminds them to tread lightly. The prefrontal cortex monitors social feedback, guiding each action towards subtlety. Quiet love is also a psychological coping mechanism. By observing rather than dominating, they maintain safety for both themselves and those they cherish. It is an implicit negotiation between intimacy and self-preservation. And yet this style of loving is profoundly intentional. Each pause, each careful gesture, each act of noticing is laden with meaning. It is a love that speaks in micro-moments, a vocabulary written in attention and quiet devotion, an invisible architecture of care that often goes unnoticed, but forms the foundation of some of the deepest human connections. Chapter 4. The weight of unspoken feelings. Quiet lovers often carry a paradox within themselves, a heart overflowing, and a voice that hesitates. They feel deeply, yet they restrain their expressions. This inner tension is not born from lack of courage, but from years of learning that vulnerability can be risky. To speak too loudly, too openly, might disrupt the delicate balance they have cultivated in relationships. Every unspoken word accumulates like dew on leaves, soft, almost imperceptible, yet persistent. They long to reach out, to express warmth and devotion, but often doubt will meet reciprocity. The risk of rejection, of misinterpretation, hovers quietly, shaping the way they engage with others. Their love becomes a careful choreography of presence, observation, and subtle acts. This restraint brings both protection and burden. Quiet lovers can feel invisible even when deeply present, misunderstood as distant or indifferent. Inside, there may be a simmering ache, a desire to be fully known, fully seen, while simultaneously fearing that such exposure will overwhelm or fracture connection. Their emotional world is layered with silent negotiations. Every gesture, every pause, every withheld word is weighed, a silent calculus between giving and holding back. The mind debates. Is it safe to speak? Will it matter? Will it be too much? And yet, the weight of what is unspoken can press heavily. It strains patience, blurs boundaries, and sometimes clouds self-worth. Quiet love, for all its grace, carries a hidden tension, the constant dance between offering the heart and guarding it, between devotion and invisibility. Chapter 5. The moment something breaks, change often comes quietly, like a shift in the wind, unnoticed until it stirs something deep inside. For those who love quietly, the turning point is rarely dramatic. It may be a single moment, an unanswered gesture, a missed opportunity, a subtle disappointment, that illuminates the cost of silence. In that moment, they recognize the truth they have long avoided. Their quiet devotion, while tender and careful, has sometimes left them unseen. Not unnoticed, exactly, but unseen in the fullness of their emotional presence. It is a gentle fracture, not a shattering one, yet it resonates through the nervous system, awakening awareness. They begin to notice patterns that were invisible before, the small resentment tucked into patience, the exhaustion carried beneath the surface, the yearning for reciprocity that has often gone unacknowledged. The realization is not about blame, it is about understanding. They see that their way of loving, though sincere, may be incomplete without gentle expression. This turning point often brings clarity and relief. It is a moment of permission to acknowledge their own needs, to consider what it means to be both quiet and fully present, to integrate subtle devotion with the courage to be emotionally visible. In this space, they learn that vulnerability need not destroy the softness they hold. It can coexist with the quiet strength that defines them. For the quiet lover, awakening to this realization is not a dramatic crescendo, but a quiet exhale, a new rhythm of being that honors both heart and voice. Chapter 6. Learning to breathe out loud. Healing for the quiet lover is not about changing who they are. It is about allowing themselves to exist fully, without restraint. It begins with permission to speak, to reach, to let their affection ripple beyond silent gestures. This is not sudden or theatrical. It unfolds slowly, like a tide inching up the shore, gentle and inevitable. They experiment with small acts of expression. A word spoken aloud instead of held back. A touch offered without hesitation. A confession of care that feels shaky at first, yet grounding. Each act is a rehearsal in bravery, a recognition that love can be both soft and visible. Psychologically, this integration is profound. By acknowledging their own emotional needs, they rebalance the scales of intimacy. The nervous system, once attuned only to subtle signals of others, learns that expressing vulnerability does not collapse the world. The quiet lover discovers that strength and softness are not opposites. They coexist, harmonizing in gentle rhythm. They begin to notice the reciprocal nature of relationships. Their quiet acts of devotion find reflection, not as dramatic proof, but as subtle recognition. A quiet echo of care that affirms their presence. In time, loving quietly becomes richer. The internal tension softens. Silence no longer feels like a shield, but a choice. They learn that to love gently does not require invisibility, and to speak softly does not diminish the depth of their feeling. Love, they realize, is not a measure of volume, but of presence, awareness, and authenticity. Chapter 7. A love that echoes. To love quietly is to shape a life in the language of subtlety. It is in the pauses between words, in the unspoken gestures that ripple through days, in the tender constancy that asks nothing in return. The quiet lover's impact is often invisible, yet enduring. Like roots beneath the earth, their care stabilizes, nourishes, and strengthens, even when the world sees only the surface. They teach, without speaking, that devotion need not shout to be heard, that attention, attentiveness, and gentle presence are forms of profound love. Over time, their journey reveals a truth: softness is not weakness. Silence is not absence. The heart that loves quietly carries a depth few can match. The quiet lover, having embraced both their restraint and their voice, becomes a living paradox, visible and invisible, strong and gentle, attentive and unobtrusive. Their love echoes, not in dramatic gestures, but in the subtle patterns they leave behind, in the comfort and safety they weave into the lives around them. And for those who encounter them, their quiet devotion is a mirror of what it means to be truly present, to feel deeply, to honor both one's own heart and the hearts of others. In the stillness, the subtle love resonates. It lingers in memory, in quiet smiles, in gentle words remembered long after they are spoken. A love that whispers can echo eternally, soft, enduring, and profoundly human.